Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to St Mary's Vicarage on this, the 2nd of October. And here we are again, and it's a Friday, and we're heading into the weekend. Bit of a storm blowing outside, though it has just stopped raining, and I can see some wonderful blue sky. So who knows what will happen the rest of the day. But if you are out and about today, do be careful. The wind is blowing quite a lot, and the trees are still in pretty much full leaf. So there's a good chance that branches and things may well come down. Now, looking ahead to the weekend, it is Pentridge Harvest Festival this coming Sunday, but I've just sent an email off to the church wardens. The plan is, at the moment, to have the Harvest Festival at the barn in Woodyates. However, there's been a few issues with regard to music and such like, and various things. So we may be reverting back to St Rumbold's Church for the service. I'm just asking the church wardens and the Fergusons who were going to host that just to have a think. So we will send a message out via email, the emailing system, if the venue changes to the church. The only thing to be aware of course, is if we do revert back to the church, unfortunately, we will only be able to have about 20 people in the church due to social distancing. So do need to be aware of that. Anyhow, after this, morning Anthony, after this broadcast, I'm meeting somebody from the Rushmore estate at the church, because there's been plans to launch an app for tourists. It's been an ongoing thing, and it should have been launched in fact last September, I believe, last October, but for various reasons, and obviously because of COVID and such like, it has been delayed. But I'm meeting with a chap called John after this, because apparently the app is live, or is about to go live, and there will be a small sign in the churchyard with a sort of a QR code that you can scan in. And then if you've got the app downloaded on your phone, it will take you to various places around the Chase benefice and around the Chase, and the Rushmore estate. One of them is here, but if you've got the app and you download it and you hit on the QR code, you'll get some information about Handley and the church. And what's more, if you hold your phone up, the Gulliver, the smuggler, will appear, and you will see Gulliver, and he will tell you something of the story and the history of Gulliver and his link with Handley Church. And if you look, I'm not going to say, but if you do look, it might be somebody that you recognise. It's not me, but it will be somebody that you recognise. So hopefully that will all be going live soon. So that's what I've got to do after this broadcast this morning. I've also opened up this morning. Now, this is what we call the marriage returns. And normally once a quarter, the local authority, in this case Dorset Council, they send you a whole load of paperwork, including these sorts of things, though we can photocopy them now. And basically what we do is, all of the couples who have got married over that quarter period, I have to send in the details of their wedding and such like, or if no marriages have taken place, I need to send back the details of the last number of the marriage that was in the book. And of course, it's quite sad opening this, because I mean, it's the first time it's ever happened to me in 20 odd years of ministry, even in rural ministry. Is firstly, I've been sent sheets for 2 quarters, First from the 1st of April to the 30th of June, because of course that's when we were more or less in lockdown. And now the 1st of, and then from the 1st of July to the 30th of September. And of course I'll be sending back nil returns for all of those. And that's not to say that we didn't have any weddings booked in for this period. We had about 5 weddings booked in for our benefice that should have all have happened now. And we also had one Thanksgiving or a dedication service for 10 years of marriage, renewal of marriage vows we were going to be doing. Sadly, all of those have been postponed and moved to next year. So looking at that, I'm really mindful this morning of the couples that we were due to marry here in our churches who have had their weddings disrupted or cancelled. Those that have lost money, some quite considerably as a result of deposits on venues and things like that. And some of them now, I'm in contact with them because we were encouraging them to book weddings, to move their weddings to the spring. And some of those have already done that. We've moved them to May. And of course, with the Prime Minister's announcement a couple of weeks ago that, you know, restrictions in some form or another will probably continue for another 6 months. And news reports recently on the TV saying, of course, you know, when a vaccine hopefully is up and running, it is going to be a phased process for everybody to receive that vaccine and for us to go back to a more normal way of life without the restrictions that we have. So it's looking like some forms of restriction, social distancing, what we're able to do may well continue well into next year. And of course, I really feel for those couples who have, you know, thought a lot about their weddings. It's a huge day. And they've already moved their celebrations once and may well possibly have to do that again or have them severely curtailed. So please do think and in your prayers hold not only those that were intending to be married in our villages here, but also those all over the country who have had their wedding plans either cancelled, postponed, or quite drastically curtailed from what they were hoping would be their celebration. So I'll be filling those forms out when I go over to the vestry after this. But a bit of sadness there because there is nothing quite like a country wedding, a village wedding. I think one of the lovely things and the great privileges of particularly being a country parson, because we don't tend to have many weddings in villages, unlike some of the towns where you might do 3 weddings on a Saturday. It does mean I get to know the couples pretty well because I meet with them 4 times as part of their marriage preparation. They often worship regularly at the church they're going to be married at. And you build up a really quite a special relationship with them. And it's a great honour and privilege because, you know, you stand in front of them at one of the most intimate and important moments of their lives as they make their vows to each other. And more often than not, you often get invited to the reception or their drinks later on in the evening and such like. And that's also a great privilege in rural ministry because particularly when their families associated with the village, it has that sort of wonderful community feel to it. So just mindful of those couples who have had to have their wedding plans curtailed this year. Now, of course, we've heard on the news this morning that President Trump and his wife Melania have tested COVID positive. Lots bouncing about on Facebook and social media and the news and everything, and whatever we might think personally about Mr. Trump and his policies and leadership or whatever. Of course, we wish nobody to suffer as a result of this particular virus. So I hope that he and his wife are not greatly affected and make a speedy recovery from that. And anybody else that there's obviously quite a few people that have been in close contact there with a person who they've contracted the virus from. So I'm sure it's not only President Trump that will be affected by this. Now, looking at my little book of saints, we don't really have anybody today, but we did miss. We have missed Anthony Cooper, who was the Earl of Shaftesbury on the 1st of October. Now, he's not a Catholic saint. Born in 1801, Ashley Cooper was first elected to the House of Commons in 1826, and in 1851 he succeeded his father as the Earl of Shaftesbury, just up the road, obviously, and sat in the House of Lords. His service in Parliament was marked from the beginning by a desire to reform social abuse and an impulse which derived from his strong evangelical Anglican piety. He campaigned successfully for the measures to improve housing and also create schools for the poor. And it has to be said that many of the local schools around here he had a hand in. He pioneered legislation on conditions of employment, for example, in mines and factories, particularly with respect to the protection of children. He became the antipony of the Victorian Christian philanthropist, working within the political system to redress social evils, and he died on the 1st of October 1885. So in a sense, as a as a local person, we remember Anthony Ashley Cooper, who was the Earl of Shaftesbury, and all the work that he did on social reforms, conditions of the poor, and the setting up of schools, particularly in this area. Right, let's have a little look at our Bible reading for today, Friday. Lost track of time. It is getting very dark in here. I'm going to turn the light on. Oh, it is on already. Gosh, there we go. How the weather changes. Let's put this one on. Right, better put thicker glasses on for this one. The reading today is from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, beginning to read at verse 13. Jesus said to his disciples, "Alas for you, Chorazin! Alas for you, Bethsaida! For if the miracles done in you had been done in Tyre or Sidon, they would have repented long ago, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. And still it will not go as hard with Tyre and Sidon at the day of judgment as with you. And as for you, Capernaum, did you want to be exalted high as heaven? You shall be thrown down to hell. Everyone who listens to you listens to me. Anyone who rejects you rejects me. And those who reject me, the one who sent me." So one of what they call the hard sayings of Jesus, an uncompromising message to those particular towns. And interesting in the sense that I've just read that piece about the Earl of Shaftesbury and the social reform that he did. And it's very interesting, you know, you cannot divorce politics from religion, particularly what is going on in both the Old and the New Testament. And Jesus and the prophets before him they're not having a go at people for lack of religious piety and lack of zeal. They're normally having a go at people for a lack of compassion and mercy and kindness and understanding to others. They're having a go at selfishness, where greed becomes the preeminent motivation, and where the poor, the widow, the orphan, the refugee, the homeless and the destitute suffer as a result of a lack of concern and negligence from others. So it's a powerful message, but also an uncomfortable message. It should make us feel uncomfortable when we hear those words, and it should be a sharp prick and reminder for us to look at our own society, both locally or nationally or internationally, and to be aware of the injustices that many people face, and like the Earl of Shaftesbury, we might not quite have his influence or his money, but we can, in a sense, take that example and stand up and speak out for social injustice, for the poor, for the needy, and ensure that they are not pushed to one side and marginalised. And in our world today, where the division between rich and poor seems to be greater and greater and greater, I think that's a really important message for us all to understand. And maybe in our own small ways we can do that. Now, one way we can do that, and one thing I want to plug, is the Trussell Trust. So we had our Harvest Festival Handley last Sunday, Harvest at Pentridge this coming Sunday. In the church, as you go into St Mary's Church in Handley, there is a table with a very large round basket on it, and you'll see a sign for the Trussell Trust. We are collecting for the food bank there. The school, Handley School, is also collecting food in the normal way, and that will go to the Trussell Trust. But if you do have, spare dried food, tins and cans and such like, and you're walking past the church, please do be as generous as you can, and just deposit food in the basket there. We will get it to the Trussell Trust. The rise of food bank use has increased so much prior to COVID, and has increased again as a result of COVID. And as we move into Christmas and furloughing stops and more people find that they are unemployed or jobless, all of these sorts of things are going to have a huge consequence on people who live particularly very close to the edge. Maybe in our own small way here in Handley, we can help people make a difference. So please do be as generous as you can. The church is open from about 9 till 5 every day. It's wonderful to just go and sit there and reflect. But if you can make a donation of food there in the basket, we'll ensure it gets to the Trussell Trust, and we know that it will be used wisely. Of course, Bill has just said, if you do know Mike Carter, Mike is our sort of link person with the Trussell Trust. Some people do take food directly to him, and that's fine. But if it's easier for you just to drop it up at the church, then please do so. So there we go. Moving on to the weekend. Well, I hope everybody has a good weekend. The weather's not looking great. As you may have saw, I was really trying to hold out turning on the heating at the vicarage until the 1st of October. We just about managed it by a few hours, but on the 30th it got very cold in the vicarage. We're very lucky up here on the hill, but it sort of affects us in two ways, which is that when it is warm and sunny, this building gets very warm, particularly my office, which is south facing, and I really enjoy the heat. I suppose it might be my Spanish blood. So it does get very warm, and we're very blessed in that sense. But as soon as the temperature drops, because we get all of the wind that comes up over the chase and such like, the building cools down very, very quickly too. So it's a sort of swing of extremes up here at the vicarage. But there we go. Anyhow, hope you all have a really good weekend coming up, and do tune in tomorrow. And we will let people know. In fact, I just saw an email ping up. I'll just quickly look at this, folks, because I may be able to announce this now from. Okay, so there we go. Yes, the church wardens at Handley at Rumbold have made a decision. So the Harvest Festival for Pentridge is now going to be back in the church. So it will be a 10 o'clock Holy Communion. Back in St Rumbold, said Holy Communion back in St Rumbold's church. So we're sorry about that. It's just we're not able to provide the brass band music for various reasons, and all sorts of other issues are coming into play. So Harvest Festival at Pentridge this Sunday, 10 o'clock in St Rumbold's church, just to let people know about that. Let's just close with the grace. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all evermore. Amen. Take care, folks. God bless.